What if the hardest test in your life came from the very one you trusted most? In Genesis 22, we enter a story that's both familiar and utterly unsettling. A father, a son, a command from God, and a journey up a mountain that would shake the foundations of faith forever. Abraham was living in the promise. He had waited decades for a son, Isaac, the miracle child, the one through whom God had said his descendants would outnumber the stars. This was his ordinary world, quiet, settled, grateful. But then came the call to adventure. Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering. No explanation, no warning, just a command that collides with everything Abraham knows about God's character. And here we meet the refusal of the call, not in words but in silence. Abraham says nothing. Not to Sarah, not to Isaac, not even to God. The next morning, he simply rises early and sets out. The absence of protest becomes the loudest echo in the story. Is he afraid? Confused? Resigned? 3 days pass. That's the space where real fear lives, in the waiting, the walking, the wondering. Every step closer to the mountain, Isaac beside him, and the question lingering. Will God really let this happen? Then the mentor appears, not in human form, but in Abraham's memory. The God who had called him out of Ur, the God who had preserved him through Egypt, the God who had promised life from death before. That same God, now silent, becomes his only anchor. They reach the mountain. Isaac carries the wood. Abraham carries the fire and the knife. And Isaac, innocent, trusting, asks the question that pierces through time. My father, where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham's reply, God will provide. It's not just an answer, it's an act of faith in motion. He's crossing the threshold now, climbing to the place of surrender. On the mountain, the ordeal arrives. Abraham builds the altar. He binds his son, lays him on the wood, raises the knife. And just before the unthinkable becomes reality, the angel calls out, Abraham, Abraham, do not lay a hand on the boy. A ram is caught in the thicket, the substitute, the sacrifice, and Abraham names the place Yahweh Yireh, the Lord will provide. This is the reward, not just a spared life, but a reaffirmed promise. God reaffirms his covenant. Because you have not withheld your son, I will surely bless you. But the journey isn't over. The road back is quiet. We don't hear from Isaac again in this chapter. Abraham descends the mountain, changed, marked by obedience, haunted perhaps, but steadied. And now comes the resurrection, not of Isaac literally, but of the promise. Through this test, Abraham's faith is revealed, refined, and remembered. The son lives, the covenant holds, and Abraham returns, not just with his son, but with the elixir of trust forged in fire. Genesis 22 closes not with emotional reunions, but with a list of names, a genealogy. Subtle, easy to skip, but those names carry the future. One of them, Rebekah, will become Isaac's wife. The next chapter of the story begins, because sometimes the greatest rewards are the ones we don't see right away. Genesis 22 isn't just a story about sacrifice. It's a story about faith that walks in the dark, about love that trusts without answers, and about a God who provides not always in the way we expect, but always in the way we need. So what do we do with a story like this? We remember the journey of faith is not paved with certainty, but with trust. And sometimes to understand God's provision, we must first walk up the mountain with nothing but his word in our hands.